Coming in at number 5, we've got the Human Experiment. This is a particularly well-known site on the dark web that was active for quite a while before going quiet around 2011. As you may have guessed from the name, this site documents all sorts of human experimentation. Not lab trials or allergy tests though, this is some real Unit 731 stuff. The pages detail experiments done by anonymous doctors and med students, all unethical, despicable, and super unhippocratic. The goal is to prove that some humans are verifiably superior to others. Whether it's a eugenics thing or a super soldier program gone sour, I can't say for sure. These dastardly doctors pick up homeless and unregistered people and subject them to all sorts of horrid conditions, all in the name of science. Some of the tests include starvation, extreme dehydration, testing the limits of pain tolerance, introducing infectious diseases, causing organ damage, transfusing unsafe substances, administering experimental drug trials, sterilization, and subjecting infants to x-rays, heat, and pressure. Apparently a lot of these experiments are covertly conducted in hospitals and the results are shared under the names of other real patients. After the experiment is complete, usually thanks to the death of their subject, the bodies are dissected and disposed of discreetly. At one point, dumpsters behind meat shops were mentioned. Yikes. Like most information available on the dark web, the human experiment has been subject to plenty of scrutiny and skepticism. However, according to some intrepid researchers, some of the data they posted related to their experiments with hypothermia and bleach injections is reasonably realistic. It could very well be an elaborate fantasy, but numbers don't often lie. Like I mentioned earlier, these folks have been radio silent since 2011, but that doesn't mean they've stopped with their experimentation. Maybe they've just stopped posting about it. Coming in at number 4, Hitmen. Thanks to the relative anonymity of the dark web, hits seem to be a relatively common commodity. Who hasn't at some point wanted someone dead? Not having to kill them yourself is a huge bonus too. Although that's definitely not something I've ever considered. No way. There are 3 major sites that a lot of folks seem to be familiar with: Assassination Market, Unfriendly Solution, and Cthulhu Resume. They all function a little bit differently, but are definitely all for the same purpose. Unfriendly Solution is apparently just one hitman. He claims to have years of experience and no remaining human empathy, which means he'll do just about anything to anyone for the right price. Cthulhu Resume is an organized criminal group full of former soldiers and mercenaries. Apparently they're a well-oiled killing machine. And then there's the Assassination Market, which is a little odd. It works kind of like a crowdfunding operation with an element of gambling. A target is added to a list and users can add cryptocurrency to a pool of money associated with that person. Folks can also predict when and how a person will die, and whoever gets it right will take the money home. The person behind this site appears to be more fundamentally driven than others, with plenty of long manifesto-style points about their assassination style. Although, with most folks on the list being celebrities, it seems like the site's more of a novelty than anything. Many folks theorize that the more accessible operations are probably sting operations for the FBI or similar organizations, which makes sense to be honest. Catch killers before they can find a real hitman. However, I don't doubt that there are real assassins skulking around on the dark web. They'd be much more furtive though, allowing only certain folks to find them. You would need connections and access to the always changing gibberish-based onion links to contact these killers. After all, who would openly advertise their services on a surface level site? Chewing their way in at number 3, we've got Cannibals. In amongst the many seedy online markets is one that might make your stomach churn. With every possible vice being catered to, why wouldn't people with a penchant for human flesh make an appearance? There are plenty of folks looking to buy and sell human meat online. In fact, there are some folks who are really into the idea of being eaten by someone else. They say stuff like, "I'm fresh, I'm juicy, come on and eat me." Seems like a sort of sexual compulsive thing. Very odd. In addition to the buying and selling of meat for the purpose of consumption, there are markets for products made from humans. There are customers and shopkeepers looking to exchange wallets and belts made from skin. Maybe even a full skin suit, kind of like Buffalo Bill. Or maybe a wallet made of something taken from a poor pill-popping woman, a la the house that Jack built. Who would want to own, let alone wear, some of this stuff? I'd really rather not know. Relatively recently, a man was caught using the dark web to plan the murder and consumption of a 13-year-old girl. He had been searching for a parent willing to let him kill and eat their daughter, and ended up communicating with an undercover agent posing as a father. They agreed on a meeting place, but when he showed up, he was not met by a young girl, but by the police. After being encouraged on the dark web, he was ready to go all the way through with it. Coming in at number 2, we've got Red Rooms. Think Videodrome. Red rooms are basically live feeds of people being tortured in methodical and perverse ways. Some say you can pay to tell the operator what to do to the victim. It's hard to find verifiable sources of red rooms, but their existence isn't totally implausible. Reddit user Drowdan swears that one day he came across one by accident and hasn't been the same since. When he was in high school, he spent a lot of time using Tor on recommendation from his tech-savvy friend. Exploring, clicking links, just seeing how far he could get. Eventually he came across a forum called something along the lines of Think Evil, populated almost exclusively by people discussing very dark topics. Sexual assault, torture, long-term abuse tactics, cannibalism, you name it. Most of the posts were pretty old though. However, he noticed that someone had posted a link within the hour on the forum's main page. Red Room, going live soon. Morbid teenage curiosity made him click. He was directed to a live webcam chat room broadcasting what appeared to be the inside of an abandoned house. Front and center was a woman tied to a chair with a pillowcase over her body. A man with his face covered entered the frame and asked the audience what they wanted to see and how much they would pay. Someone ended up putting $500 on the line to see her beaten with a bat. Soon after, this bidder requested that the poor woman be killed. Another chat member asked Drowdan why he wasn't talking, which caused him to freak out and pull the plug on his computer. Needless to say, he wasn't going to head back there anytime soon. And finally at number 1, Peter Scully. I really don't want to discuss the grisly details of this, so I'll make it short. Peter Scully is an Australian serial killer made famous for running a pay-per-view site on the dark web. He and his partner Carmen Ann Alvarez would torture and assault young girls on camera for paying viewers. He was eventually brought to justice when 2 potential victims escaped and identified Alvarez, who then confessed and revealed all. Scully is currently serving a life sentence in the Philippines for his crimes, thank goodness. Even a stay in one of the world's most overstuffed prisons is too good for him. When asked why he did it, Scully said, "I don't know why I did it. I wasn't like that in Australia. I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse." Even if he's behind bars, the anonymous viewers on the dark web may very well still be at large.
Number 5 on this list is Fixed Match Buy-In. Fixed Match Buy-In is a way for people who visit this site to bet on sports matches around the globe that are actually fixed and their outcome has been previously determined. Maybe for some of you this isn't scary, but for me, a guy who literally runs his own YouTube channel / podcast about the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team, my channel's called Blue Jays Today, feel free to check it out, just a mildly shameless plug. But anyways, for me and for sports fans in general, this is some pretty serious stuff. For the longest time, fixed sports games have been something that the public has speculated upon. The authorities who run said sports games have vehemently denied such allegations, but this fixed match buy-in proves that these allegations are real. The Thought Catalog says that the FMBI fixes matches with at least a 2-to-1 payout. It also requires a $20,000 minimum buy-in, with 50% of your winnings going toward the site's service fees, though after the fixed match, the $20,000 buy-in is then returned to your Bitcoin account and everyone wins except for the athletes. Although FMBI cannot prove its authenticity, as doing so would require to reveal transaction details or match information that could jeopardize their network, they claim to be quite busy with weekly matches in several different sports. They say that they're involved in multiple sports, but the one that has the most potential is probably European football. For the longest time, people have believed that the league owners have a say in how things play out and who comes out on top. The nature of the sport makes it one of the easiest ones to tamper with, considering how subjective penalties are and that most matches are usually decided by a single goal. As a sports fan, I hate the thought that matches might be fixed, but based on this, might have to come to terms with it. Also, side note, but comment down below if you guys are a sports fan and the team that you support. Would love to hear. Number 4 on this list is cheap swatting service. Swatting, according to Thought Catalog, is the act of obtaining a victim's IP address and then anonymously and falsely reporting a critical incident such as a bomb threat or hostage situation to that location. The SWAT team then arrives on scene, kicks down a few doors, and generally disrupts everyone's day while costing taxpayers thousands of dollars, and it's huge on YouTube right now. Though the affected have extended all the way to politicians and pop stars, most instigators and victims are gamers who get attacked as a result of a bitter online rivalry. Swatting is also a service that you can buy on the deep web through cheap swatting service. CSS offers 3 options for the customer: $5 for a mild situation, $10 for a little worse where they'll bring many people in and raid them, and then $20 for the SWAT team to come and they can just do anything. Despite penalties of up to 25 years to life, stiff sentences for the convicted have done little to curb this growing trend. This is because swatters are able to keep risks and subsequently service prices low by relying on simple and difficult to trace methods of police contact. Disposable phones, phone number encryption, and internet call services such as Skype have all proven cheap and invaluable tools for the common swatter. I want to just emphasize what they said about the $20 option there, folks. They can do anything. A SWAT team will literally show up to your home, and if they perceive a threat, you could actually be killed. Any number of things could go wrong with this whole scenario. Not to mention that this is a horrible allocation of resources, and if an incident occurred where we actually did need the SWAT team while someone was swatting, then whoever actually needs them is going to be in serious trouble. This is also the perfect way to frame someone for a crime if you ever did want to do such a thing. Plant some evidence and then call the SWAT team in and bam, they're done. This is way too much power for a standard person to have and seems like a really dangerous way to spend 20 bucks. Number 3 on this list is Atlantic carding. The Thought Catalog writes once again, roughly 11 million Americans fall victim to credit card theft each year. Atlantic Card isn't helping. AC is a service that sells credit card information, addresses, and social security numbers. The more money you're willing to spend, the better your info. Big spenders can even get access to business accounts and infinite credit cards with no limit. Price ranges between $5 and $80 depending on the depth of information sold. It's reasonable pricing for the potential destruction of a stranger's life. The site boasts a credit card validity rate upward of 95%, anonymous communication via PGP encryption, and untraceable Bitcoin transaction. But keep in mind, if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. Agencies have been known to stage sting operations on the deep web with fake sites, such as 2010's Carter Profit. It's that easy, guys. Just drop a few bucks, and with that, you can steal someone's identity and their credit card and put them in really serious debt. I'm so ignorant in regards to credit card theft and hacking and all the ins and outs of how it works, and I think that honestly makes this a little bit scarier. Like the fact that there's just a whole site where you can buy someone's card for $80 seems kind of ridiculous. What if we get unlucky and the card that they buy happens to be you or me? Granted, they probably look at mine and think to themselves why they'd want such a sad looking thing, but that is a complete, total other story. Just be aware that somebody is just a click away from stealing your entire identity and totally altering your whole life. Number 2 on this list is the Cookbook. During my research of the dark web, there were several stories about one site in particular that is especially gruesome and disgusting. It's a site dedicated to cooking, however it doesn't use your conventional ingredients. Rather than how to cook a quality pork roast or a good steak, this site specifically looks on how to cook one thing: women. Yeah, that's right guys, this site is 100% dedicated to cooking females. Metro writes, the most disturbing site we found was a comprehensive guide for cooking women. We're not talking about a short joke here. This page had information on what body types to use for specific cuts, how to prepare these cuts, and how to cook the girl so she lives as long as possible. Now I haven't actually seen exactly what this site is, and I'm honestly glad I haven't witnessed it in person because this is just next levels of sadistic stuff right here. We're talking about a full-on website that resembles something run by the Food Network except for humans. On this site, it said that you can find close to 100 different recipes. I think the scariest part about this is that it isn't a joke site either. This is a fully real site that takes itself seriously. And if the owners of this site take it seriously, then it also means that there are users who take it seriously and probably follow said recipes on a regular basis. It almost seems too sick and twisted to be real, but I'm sad to report that this is an actual thing that you could discover on the dark web. And finally, number 1 on this list is Red Rooms. This entry is truly just so sick, guys. Science and Technology writes, Red Rooms can be essentially classified as video portals. They are hidden pages in which the viewer can watch live a torture of a person and participate in such torture by contributing with ideas or requests. Depending on the money you pay, you can participate to a greater or lesser extent. Payment is made by using cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin to guarantee anonymity and avoid problems. This is honestly horrible, but the sad thing is this is kind of a tame definition of what actually goes on there. Murder, taking one's own life, horrific sexual things have all been said to go down on this dark portal of the internet. Nowadays, it's even been utilized by some organizations where they'll perform executions on there. Now there are some beliefs that these red rooms are just an internet hoax and they don't actually exist. And frankly, I hope that that's the case, but there have been a lot of stories of people stumbling upon them and witnessing firsthand the type of horrific stuff that goes on. This is a horrible part of the internet and something that I hope that you never need to discover for yourself.
In at number 4, blue waffle. Now I'm not talking about one of your favorite things to have for breakfast dyed a fun blue color. Oh no. This is actually a sexually transmitted disease that affects people with compromised immune systems. People living with an autoimmune disease often have a slightly higher chance of contracting this disease. Yeah, pictures of this are buried deep into the dark web, and for good reason. They are really gross. There's a reason people tell you to never look this up online. It's just a bunch of snaps of diseased genitals. Yeah, there's a lot of bumps, pus, bruising, and blood where there shouldn't be, and everything is blue.